As the last week of the regular season starts, it's the last regular season episode of This is Whirlie Nation, the Grimsley Basketball Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chase Williams, here with the head coach of the Grimsley Whirlies, Coach Corbett. And it's a big week for the Whirlies. A lot on the line with two games starting tomorrow night against Southwest Guilford, as well as Friday night against Northern Guilford. Coach, we'll start as always with this. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Cannot complain at all. It was a great weekend. Anytime you can go into the weekend on a winning note, that's a great thing.
Absolutely, and it's been a winning note. Winners of 5 straight, including 2 away last Tuesday at Western. A big win there, and then a rivalry W over Page on Friday night. Walk us through those 2 games quickly a little bit.
Against Western Guilford, I thought that we came out pretty well to start. You know, we jumped out on them. I think it was like 12-2 or 14-2 early, and just built momentum off of our defense. We had a couple of letdowns in the second half, but overall, I thought we played well. I thought we did a great job sharing the basketball. And you know, when you're in a situation like that, you just want to get out of that situation with a win. So we were happy with the way our kids played on Tuesday. I didn't think we overlooked Western at all. I thought that they came in and really gave us a great effort, but I think our guys were locked in. So it was a big difference between the first time that we played them and the second time that we played them.
And then on Page, you have a big rivalry game. You see a good victory, 66-55. The final led by Faison Brandon, 20 points, 9 rebounds, near double-double for him. And overall, another great execution from the team all around. Nick Keith had a good game. Kareem Osman with 6+ assists in that game, as well as you see Richard Goods doing Richard Good type things. They showed up for the rivalry match, but they didn't make it more than it needed to be, it felt like.
No, I mean, we came in, we knew we had business to take care of. And we go over the Page, it's always going to be a really tough environment to play in. They came out early with a lot of fire and enthusiasm, which is what we expected. So we didn't really expect to get down by 11-2. But I think once we settled in and we were able to hit a couple shots, I told our kids after the first quarter, I thought we handled their best punch that they were going to give us early in the game. And then once we settled in, I thought we did a really good job. And we had 2 key runs that really to give us the cushion that we needed to. I think we were in a 1-point game, and I think there was a technical foul that was called, a 2-point game. And I know Nick Keith went to the free throw line, made a free throw, and then came back the next possession, hit a big 3, and then Faison got a drive the next time to put us up by 7. And then the second half, we pushed it out. So I think maybe 16 on them. So, you know, we as long as we can continue to play with energy and effort on both ends of the court, you know, we can do things like that. But I was extremely pleased with how our kids played in the second half against Page.
You mentioned being down 11-2 on Friday night. It's typically roles reversed. Typically, it's a quick timeout from the other squad because you're up 11-2, 13-2, whatever it may be. What's the conversation with the team to calm them down and get them settled in to do exactly what they did Friday night?
Just take everything one possession at a time. You know, we're not going to get everything back with a 3-point shot here or trying to get a gamble and get a steal there. So just locking in and playing defensively. But we talked to them about just getting one possession at a time against Page. And I thought we did a pretty good job of doing that to combat the run that they had early to start the game.
You mentioned it a few weeks ago to me. Friday night was kind of the night that had been circled for Bryce Davis's return. I want to touch on that for a moment. That's exactly what happened over 7 minutes he played. He had 3 points, 3 rebounds. What did you see from Bryce on Friday that you enjoyed?
I love his toughness. You know, I mean, he gives us another person that we can go to on the block. It's hard for anybody to double Richard if Bryce is in there. And, you know, I think they did a good job of working the high-low game that we were trying to implement to have both of them on the floor at the same time. So Bryce gives us a rebounder. He's able to get to the basket. You know, it was tough for him. It was his first game back, but you know, I was pleased with what Bryce was able to do. We could not play him but limited minutes. His doctor told us that the first game back we could not play him extended minutes. So hopefully, as we continue on with the season, we'll be able to get him more minutes and more time on the floor.
And he, as you mentioned, just pairs so well with so many other people on the court. I mean, we'll start off with Richard, as we oftentimes do. He had what I believe I have down here is his 18th straight double-double on Friday night, which is, again, as I said, probably last Monday night, just ridiculous, but it's the truth. 19 points, 15 rebounds. He did what he needed to do to assert the dominance that he does in the paint Friday night, it felt like.
Yeah, he did. And I think that's going to be that's our game plan every night. We're trying to get the ball inside to him, get him going early, because the more we get him going early, the more that opens things up for everybody. I think you're able to see that by the way our guards were able to break Page's defense down off the dribble because they were trying to pay so much attention to Richard. It gave Nick Keith and it gave Kareem Osmond a chance to break them down off the dribble and they find guys who are open or get to the basket and finish themselves. So, anytime we can go through Richard to get him going first, that's great. It's going to help us out. So we're proud of everything Richard's doing, but it's what our game plan's been all year.
Absolutely. You pair that 19 and 15 he had with Faison's, as I mentioned already, 20 and 9. It felt like it was one of the best games Faison Brandon's put together on the year. I mean, he's played a lot of good basketball, but it felt like an extremely complete game from the sophomore. What did you like from him on Friday?
His energy. Faison always brings it on both ends of the floor. He's shooting the ball with a tremendous amount of confidence. Anytime you got a kid who's shooting 50% from the three-point line, you can't get any better than that. The guys have to respect it. So he's good enough to know that once those guys close out on him hard, he can get to the basket and finish with contact. So, when we see Faison playing like this, it just continues to add to our game. He's a tremendous player, but he's a great rebounder as well. I mean, I think you said he had close to 9-10 rebounds that game. So he's second on our team in rebounds and one of our top free throw scorers as well. So Faison's done a tremendous job for us. I mean, we don't know where we'd be if we didn't have him in the lineup as well.
What I love about when you talk about Faison is each week it's a different way that he's scoring the ball. Last week you bring up that he's shooting 50+% from beyond the arc. This week, it's the free throws. I mean, Faison Brandon can do so much, and he does it so eloquently on the floor. And speaking of eloquently, you got Nick Keith, Kareem Osmond, which we'll sit down with in a few minutes, but on Friday night, they both have 5+ assists. Looking at the assist numbers from these two in general, they're both on streaks of 3+ games with at least 5 assists, if not more. It really feels like the sharing of the ball, not just between those two, but everyone on the court, is at an all-time high for this team.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talked about as we ended practice a few minutes ago. As long as we continue to stay unselfish and share the basketball, there's no telling what we can do. And, with both Nick and Kareem, they have done an excellent job of getting our guys the basketball and scoring when they need to all year long. We've got a backcourt who's got 184 assists between the two of them. And that's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know. You can compare that with a lot of other teams in this area. And I'm pretty sure that our guards are right there or better than any other team that has a backcourt out there right now with assists. So, and their turnovers, I mean, if Kareem got 76 assists this year and only 35 turnovers. Nick has 106 assists and 37 turnovers. So they're taking care of the basketball, and that gets us more shots, gives us more possessions. And the more they can do that and control the flow of the game, it's just another blessing for me as a coach to have two guards on the floor who can handle pressure and who can make the right reads on every possession. So just extremely proud of those two guys.
And there's a lot of leadership on this team, and especially when I circle someone like EJ Davis. He's a freshman guard. He's got some really good experience this year. But being able to A, watch, and B, play with guys like Kareem and Nick and help him grow as a facilitator and a basketball player in general, how huge is that for not just this year, which of course is the common goal right now, but for the future of Grimsley basketball as well?
It's tremendously important, for a kid like EJ to come into practice and have to go against Nick and Kareem every day is going to do nothing but help him. I mean, I think he could come in and really do some really good things for us next year. He's doing well for us now, but he's playing behind two guards who, are just pretty great. I mean, we're talking about Nick and Kareem. Those are guys we got to have on the floor. So EJ comes in and gives them some minutes here and there. But I mean, the way they push EJ in practice every day, it's only going to help him to get better as he continues with our program here at Grimsley.
Let's talk about practice for a second. It's been a long season, and you're hoping it's not going to wrap up anytime soon. You're hoping for about what, another month or so for it to continue on. But with that, is there a lot of changes in how practice looks from, let's say, compared to the early parts of the season in November or December, or are you going with that same intensity even though you're in late February? Does it change at all with the fact that it's a long season?
Well, every coach has a different philosophy about this, but my philosophy has been that once we get on the other side and into February, we try to cut our practices down to about an hour. So we'll watch film for maybe like 20 minutes before practice, and then once we get onto the court, we go hard for that hour that we're out there, and we're competitive. So we'll get in some couple drills to get everybody going, get in a couple shooting drills, and once we go at each other, we'll go at going against each other for about maybe 15 minutes where we're playing hard against the two teams that are on the floor. But we try to cut that down just a little bit during this latter part of this season. And then like I said, that's different coaching philosophy. Some coaches want to go hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, every day to try to push their kids. But we got a sign on our wall in the locker room that says you can't practice soft and then come out and play hard. So we make sure in that hour that we're out there, we're going at each other as hard as we can.
And the other thing I want to kind of compare back to November is, I mean, just looking back at the season in general, again, we wrap up the regular season here on Friday night. I think if you look back on November 21st and that victory over Atkins to open up the year, there's no doubt about it. You look at this team and you say, hey, they're a talented squad. There's a lot of potential here. But you compare that squad to what you're going to see tomorrow night, what you've seen for the last month, 2 months, it feels very different. And I say that in a good way. What do you feel like has been the biggest change to bring this team to continue to elevate week after week as a program?
Just growth and maturity. That first game against Atkins, of course, we didn't have everybody then. And then once we finally did get everyone, then it was going to take us time to do what we're doing now. But, the kids stayed confident in each other. And, yeah, we've had some issues and some growing pains here and there. But, we've been able to combat those things and grow from it. So I love what our guys have done. And we are definitely not the same team that we were when we played Atkins at the beginning of the year. I think this team plays a lot harder. I think that they have more confidence in each other and they believe in what we're doing. That's one of the things where you have to have kids buy in and make sure that everybody's on the same page. But I think winning solves that. So the way we've been able to win, I think everybody's like, hey, if we continue to work like this, we're going to be fine. So the team that we were back in early to mid-November is nowhere near where we are right now. So that's what you want. You want your team to grow as the team goes along.
What are the common goals of this team and of every team that comes through Grimsley and the gymnasium is a Metro 4A regular season title? That's step number one. That's how you know you've completed the regular season and gone the way you can. Tomorrow night, a victory over Southwest clinches that goal. What does that mean to you and the squad?
It means everything to us. That's been our goal from day one. We want to try to repeat with this thing. We're in a situation where we're one win away from clinching this thing outright. We've already talked about the fact that we have tied for a conference championship. We've already clinched no less than first with what we've got, but we don't want that. We want the whole thing. And so we know we've got to come out tomorrow night and play with the right championship level of focus and intensity and energy in order to try to do that. So it should be a great ball game. But our kids are ready. We practiced hard today. I thought we had a good hour on the court. So, we know our goal is right in front of us and we've got to go out and take it now.
And this week's kind of a dream. I mean, you look at the two schools you're playing against, Southwest tomorrow night on Tuesday night, and then Friday night at home against Northern. I mean, it's some of the best basketball you can get in the Metro 4A as a fan. Talk to me a little bit about what you've learned from the first matchups against these, victory over Southwest, dropping to Northern, that you can use to kind of, whether it's retool against Southwest or get back and get into the victory column against Northern.
Well, first of all, it's definitely not a dream for me having to play these two teams the last week of the season, because these teams are probably the toughest teams or two of the tougher teams that we've got in our conference. And, anytime you play against Southwest, you have to be prepared for the multiple zone defenses that they're going to play. Their kids play extremely hard. We've worked on trying to make some sort of adjustments to some of the things that they do with what we did today in practice. But, Coach Vlasny's got a great squad, and he's been this way for a while. So his kids play hard. They will come ready. So they're going to challenge us in every single way on the floor tomorrow night. So we got to be ready and prepared for that. And as far as Northern goes, Northern's a really good team as well. We dropped our only conference game to Northern, so that should give us a little bit of an edge when we come in for Friday's game against Northern, and the fact that it's senior night as well. So, I think that's one of the things that we have to just be prepared. We're going to take them one game at a time. We're completely focused on Southwest right now. That's all we want to focus on and worry about, is trying to get this win tomorrow night. But, we know what lies ahead. And, with both of these teams right behind us at 8-3 in the league, it's going to be it's going to be tough for us, a tough week. But hopefully if we come in ready, we'll be fine.
And final question for you here. You mentioned it. It's senior night on Friday night. You got 3 seniors on the team. I mean, they've been great leaders for this program. Always a special night. Talk to me a little bit about the seniors and what senior night means to you.
Well, senior night is always special. It's one of the things where you want your seniors to have this memory that lasts for a lifetime, and you want it to be on a positive note. So we want our guys to make sure that they give everything they can, because even if they're underclassmen, they will be seniors one day. And so we want to make sure that they realize the importance of this game. So anytime you have a senior night activity, you want to make sure that your guys give their all. We have 3 seniors: Kareem Osmond, RJ Conyers, and Richard Goods. All 3 of those guys are key pieces to what we do. I think people see a lot of what Kareem and Richard do on the floor because of the amount of time that they play. But RJ Conyers is just as important for us, because the energy level that he brings every single day in practice and getting guys better and pushing us every single day, always saying, hey guys, focus, lock in. RJ is and the fact that he's battled back from a knee injury as well is even better for him, because RJ missed the last couple of years playing for us because of that knee injury. So him on senior night, getting a chance to go out and start on his last home game, that's great. That's something that we don't take lightly. So we want to make sure that those guys come prepared. Northern beat us 2 years ago on senior night, and that was one of the toughest losses that we've had here at Grimsley, because we were in a game where we were up 8 or 9 points with like 6 minutes to go, and we just kind of fell apart. And that was tough going into that locker room and talking to that group of seniors who had given their everything, and then to have their senior night end like that. So we don't want that feeling again. So we're going to do everything we can to prepare for Friday night the best way we possibly can.
Coach, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Chase.
Again, we'll talk to one of those seniors right now. That's Kareem Osmond, as well as Nick Keith. They join us here on This Is Whirlie Nation. Again, the Grimsley Whirlies at home twice this week. You can hear them both on Tobacco Road Sports Radio tomorrow night against Southwest Guilford. And then Friday night, again, it is, in fact, senior day against Northern Guilford. Should be 2 great matchups, but now we're joined by Nick and Kareem. First of all, fellas, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. We'll start with you, Kareem. You transitioned over from Piedmont Classical from last year, first year with the Whirlies. Just curious in general, a little bit about that transition and how it's been such a smooth process, at least it looks on the basketball court, meshing with the Grimsley Whirlies this year.
The transition's been good so far. It's a good family over here.
And I'll also ask you, why Grimsley? What stood out about the Whirlies that made you want to come join this program?
Just a coincidence.
And then, Nick, I want to talk to you a little bit. A sophomore on the team, getting a much bigger role this year. You played really well as a freshman on the team, but this year you've kind of been one of those leaders on the team. I mean, looking at what I have pulled on your notes, 8 straight games in double figures. You're averaging 19 plus points per game during that stretch. You got 5 straight with 5 plus assists, averaging about 7.5 during that stretch. I mean, offensively, you're on a tear right now. Talk to me about that role that's just changed into this year.
I knew coming in as a freshman, I had to just play my role. And then coming in this year, I knew I was going to have a bigger role, and I need to step up. And earlier in the year, I didn't step up. So I knew I had to step up second half of the season.
Was there something that clicked? Was it something that you saw offensively that opened up the game for you, or is it just head down, go to work?
I just stopped thinking and started hooping. That's really
I think a lot of people could use to learn from that one. And Kareem, speaking of assist numbers, you got 3 straight with 6+. On top of that, shooting fantastic from deep as of late. It feels like your game's also really been opening up here in the later half of the year.
Oh yeah, sir. I've been just putting in work after practice, shooting shots with Coach KD.
Talk to me a little bit. We've talked with a lot of these assistant coaches. Of course, we talk with Coach Corbett each and every week. But what do they all bring to you in your game? And we'll talk to both of you about this. So, Kareem, go ahead. You can start here.
They both played for Coach Corbett, so they know what it feels like to play for them, and they're good player development coaches.
And then, Nick, for you, I mean, I assume it's a little bit of the same. Is it easier to kind of put your trust in them because they were in your shoes, coached by the same exact coach a few years ago?
Yeah, I would say the same. They help us a lot with training and shooting around before and after practice.
I want to ask you all a few fun questions as well. Maybe one of my favorite questions to learn. I think it tells a lot about a player's. Why'd you pick your numbers? So, Kareem, we'll start with you. Number 0. I think it's one of the cleanest numbers you can wear in basketball. Why number 0?
Appreciate that. I don't really have a reason, but it's cold enough.
It absolutely is, whether it's the basketball court, the football court. Nick, I'll ask you the same thing. Anything special about number 4?
I would say I wore an AAU and I stuck with it, and he had to ask me for 0 actually. So.
Did you make him play you 1-on-1 or anything for it? Or you just kind of gave him and said, "I'm good with 4"?
Nah, I just let him have it because I was gonna wear 4 this year.
Also curious, Nick, we'll start here with you. You got a favorite basketball player, someone you've really modeled your game after?
Rob Dillingham.
He's been lighting it up. Is Kentucky a favorite team of yours, or is it just you really liked Rob and so you know?
Nah, I like Duke, but I watched Rob since high school, so I really been like watching him since he was young.
Nice. Kareem, how about you? Anyone that you really model your game after? Favorite players to watch right now?
Sharif Cooper. He's in the G League.
Hey, that's a great pick. I mean, if you know, he is extremely fun to play or to watch play. Now, getting back, focusing a little bit on this week. Tomorrow night, a big game against Southwest. I mean, these are 2 talented teams you'll face, Southwest and Northern, throughout the week. But Southwest, I talked to Coach about it. I'll bring it up to you. There's the regular season Metro 4A title that can be claimed all to the Whirlies, solely to Grimsley tomorrow night with a victory. How do you make sure that gets achieved tomorrow night against Southwest?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Either one of you, yeah.
I think we got to come in locked in early from the start. And from previous games, we jumped out early, and they was never able to come back. So we have to stick with that tomorrow and handle their pressure when they press.
Y'all bring up jumping out early. It's something you've done on a lot of teams, but not something that happened necessarily Friday night at Page. Going down 11-2 was truthfully unfamiliar territory, especially throughout conference play. Kareem, how did you feel that you and the team really adjusted throughout that game to not just get back into it, but really take over that game in the second half?
We just stayed together and just took it one possession at a time. Just listen to coach.
And obviously, a big part of this team throughout the year has been another transfer that you came over with, Richard Goods. Tell me about how much does he open up your game, make it easier for you? We'll start with you here, Kareem.
Yeah, that's my main man, Rich. He makes it easy. I mean, Rich catch anything around the rim. Just at least like 10 rebounds a game. So.
And has it really helped open up your outside game as well?
Yeah, because they usually double down on him, and he's a real good passer. So, and he's unselfish. So,
and Nick, tell me a little bit. I mean, last year you didn't have a guy like Richard Goods who stands at 6'9" and demands the double team in the paint. How much has he opened up and helped your game as well this year?
I think he trusts us as shooters. So when they get double team, he swings it out. He's a selfish player. So and I know like I have a lob partner, throw the ball to him, they don't dunk it. So, yeah.
I bet there's some pretty fun lobs that have been played out, whether it's in practice, just shooting around, whatever it may be. Friday night, it's senior night against Northern. Also a big game, a get-back game, falling to Northern earlier this year on the road. Nick, how much would it mean to you all to go ahead, finish the season off, regular season off with a victory over Northern, but also what can you learn from that first game to go ahead and change for Friday night and jump on the Nighthawks?
Well, I've been thinking about this game ever since they beat us because they really shouldn't have beat us the first time. Just didn't execute down the stretch. So I know Friday we really don't like come out there and like show them like that we didn't. That wasn't Grimsley the first time we played them. So yeah, I'm just ready for Friday. And first, we got in the Southwest first though.
Absolutely. And Kareem, same question to you. You know, anything you saw from game number one against either of these squads that, you know, you can adjust to play better again this week as you face them for the second time this year?
Against Southwest or North?
Both of them.
Southwest, we just got to really just play defense and handle their pressure. And Northern, I mean, senior night, I'm not really trying to lose on my senior night. So
it is senior night. Talk to me a little bit about how special that. You're going to have some extra family in the stands. Talk to me about, are you excited, sad, nervous? What are the feelings going into senior night on Friday night?
I mean, I'm really excited to play with my guys, Rich, RJ, so it's good for me.
Absolutely. Well, fellas, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Best of luck this week as you face off against Southwest Guilford tomorrow night and then Northern senior night on Friday. Best of luck, fellas.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As always, you all have been listening to This is Whirlie Nation, the Grimsley Coaches Show. Again, Grimsley facing off against Southwest Guilford tomorrow night and then Northern Guilford on Friday night. That will be senior night. Both of those girls and boys varsity games starting at 6 p.m. Can't be heard on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. I'll be on the call for both of them. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on, for listening to us week after week. Again, you've been listening to This is Whirlie Nation. Have a great night.